Howdy folks, when I was going through Slytherin's Home of Wargamer stream to make a video on the upcoming Terminator Dark Fate Defiance RTS game, I stumbled upon some other hidden gems which may or may not be getting their own dedicated videos in the future. However, today I wanted to talk to you about Headquarters World War II. Now recently, a game called The Troop came out, and at first glance it almost seems like The Troop and XCOM had a baby, and this is what's going to come out from them very soon. Headquarters World War II is an upcoming turn-based World War II game that is being developed by Starny Games, which is the studio behind the Strategic Mind turn-based series. Though the Steam store page doesn't mention this, the game is supposed to have a beta in the second quarter of 2022, with the release coming in the third quarter. There aren't any fancy trailers to showcase, but they did show off some of the terrain and basic combat during the stream. They also mentioned in the stream it is apparently running on Unreal 5, though the store page says it's running on Unreal 4, which seems more likely. The graphics actually look pretty decent at first glance, which is nice because in these turn-based games you have a lot more time to inspect the units up close versus a real-time strategy game. Headquarters World War II is set during the invasion of Normandy in France in June 1944. The game will launch with 3 factions, the British, the Americans, and the Germans, with every faction having a dedicated campaign with 9 missions per campaign. According to the stream, these campaign missions will be quite story-driven, with an ex-military published writer helping making it authentic. According to the store page, the game's combat system is based on the idea that it's an easy game to learn but hard to master. Vehicles will have different armor values across their front, back, side, and top, which means flanking units will play a big role. Fences, walls, and other obstacles will provide additional cover if it's between the shooter and his target, with different terrain types offering bonuses and affecting the line of sight of units. Really, again, with the XCOM style gameplay. Vehicles that are destroyed, as well as other large objects, perhaps explosive ones like fuel storages, will shape the battlefield and provide makeshift cover in a pinch. Something missing from the troop is elevation. Now, Headquarters World War II is going to be having multiple levels of terrain height, which will affect both line of sight and combat effectiveness. Think of a Sherman flanking a Tiger while being on higher ground, having a better chance at shooting into its weaker top armor. Taking down an enemy unit holed up in a building might take a while, as buildings have multiple stages of destruction, creating a challenge for both sides. Talking about the units, between the campaign battles you can upgrade and change your units, level them up, and assign heroes to grant them special abilities. Whether these are going to be famous commanders like Rommel or Patton, or more so famous soldiers like Whitman or Audie Murphy, remains to be seen. This is where I'm really getting the XCOM vibes, upgrading your units and wanting to take care of your most elite or special units throughout the campaign. Nothing hurts more in XCOM than losing one of your best soldiers you've had with you for dozens of operations. Now, losing one of your elite upgraded tanks crewed by Whitman would be the Headquarters World War II equivalent of that. Talking about crews, each vehicle has a crew, and losing a crew member will mean that unit gets certain debuffs or penalties against it. Losing a gunner in a tank will mean it can attack less accurately or less often, whereas losing a driver, for example, will result in a loss of mobility. As I mentioned, there are 9 campaigns per faction, with 3 factions making a total of 27 campaign missions. However, there are also 6 skirmish maps where you can fight the AI with a set of different victory conditions. Not only can you play against the AI, you can actually play up to a 2v2 against real players, either in a real-time setting or via a system probably similar to combat missions play by email idea. Something really cool is that they're going to be actually shipping the game with an editor tool to make skirmish as well as multiplayer maps. Hopefully through Steam Workshop. This means you could remake some historical battles or set up some crazy siege battles where the attackers have a large superiority in numbers but have to go through a bottlenecked and well-defended position to get there. Slytherin keeps publishing these awesome looking games, and it seems like this World War II version of XCOM with multiplayer and a map editor is going to be quite an interesting game to keep our eyes on near the end of 2022. For now, as always, let me know what you think of the game in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, the engine here we are using is Unreal 5 and you know, the goal we are having here is really to up the leveling graphics so that a lot more players are interested in, you know, checking it out. Again, some testing on how they behave.
So various units. I mean, a tank will have a crew, so it can anywhere from sort of 3 to 5 people within the tank, and sort of tank armor is sort of accurately sort of modelled. So firing from above, as doing there, will have a easier chance of penetrating, and the damage you can lose crew members. So, for example, if your driver's killed, it doesn't render the tank undrivable, but your movement will reduce accordingly. You know, if your gunner is killed, then you might change from sort of 2 attacks per turn to 1 attack per turn.
You've got some pretty good model there.
Yeah, a lot of very pretty tank on tank action. Again, this is all, you know, all within the engine. Within the game, you'll have the option of having sort of these kind of cinematics switched on. So when you are actually fighting, we'll have some kind of cuts, mini, very short cutscenes like this to sort of show you know, units spotted, units attacking you, you attacking units as well.
And also take the opportunity to look at some more nice looking sceneries there. Someone was mentioning earlier on in the chat, in the comments, you know, that something was looking sexy. I think that if you like tanks, then there's a lot to be excited about here. But it's also, you know, it's not only about how pretty it is, but we're really trying to model a combat system that you know, takes into account some of the specifics of the single vehicles here. So it's not only important it looks pretty. You know, the grassroots of what Slytherin is all about gameplay, and we want it to be a nice game to play.
It's all destructible, the buildings and the sort of cover. So I think we see the sort of sandbanks bags being smashed. There's a lot of wall action going on here.
It's all in engine, all in game. These clips are done for actually testing out stuff. So you actually see, you know, this truck, this tank coming down. This one is touching slightly on the side and destroying a little house. So it's kind of doing a lot of experimenting with how destructible elements are. And